At the new turn and get through the bottom of the deck, I found a card, two of them in one person's hand actually, which indicates something about my shuffling, but you know, I shuffled the hell out of things to begin with. And I mean, sometimes, you know, two cards will stay together no matter what, kind of. Even it doesn't matter, it's just part of the shuffling, right? Imperial Emissary, this would have been very helpful. I'm throwing them out because Magaro got them. He's got an Empire here. There's another one he might look for here. But there really isn't a lot of room for additional Empires. And I can't see pushing on to another one. I don't see much advantage to it for me. But what it does is it gives you a special +1 towards rolling on that level 4 table. Of course, you have to have at least a town to have a shot at it. But in conjunction with, say, Indian Scouts or Guide, which I held in reserve just in case I do need something, these can be very, very powerful. I just don't foresee needing it in the future. The way I arranged for my cards to be sort of distributed at the end was this guy had the most leftover cards at the beginning, at the end, that he didn't want to discard during the strategic discards or strategy discards. So he had 5. So I basically dealt 5 cards out of the remainder of the deck to each player. And I left like 1 card remaining. So I shuffled the rest of the deck, put it underneath that 1 card, and dealt everything the way I've been doing. Like I'm pulling the hands, and then I'm going through and doing the discards in each case. It's a little bit more complex than usual. Usually I go through the discards first, and then the draws and the follow-up discard. But again, I'm dealing directly to each player, which is one of the ways that if 2 cards are kind of close together, they don't end up separated. But again, I think I shuffle pretty damn well. Life is interesting. It's Christmas Day. And I may actually make a video about this, but it seems like such a minor thing. And yeah, I didn't play at all yesterday. I was recovering. But it's sort of, it's not a pretty day, but the rest of the week is supposed to rain. I'm already kind of short on food stock, so I'm like, well, you know, this is the day I should go shopping if I can do any. But I've been burned by this before. I don't remember. I think it was in Phoenix. And it made sense to me in Phoenix, where stores were closed on Christmas. They are here too. I can't. It's just so shocking to me. It's like, I understand, you know, the desire to give people a day off no matter what or anything, but it's sort of the only day I think that that supermarkets are shut. That it's not like an emergency situation or something that shuts them down. And it's just, to me, it's astounding. It's like, I can't remember this being the case any time from when, like, I grew up, you know. It really, the only time I remember seeing it is, I think, coming out here. But even that, like, I think it was a shift that happened while I was out west, like either here or in Phoenix. I don't know if I tried it out in Eugene before, in my first iteration here. But it feels almost like there's this weird, you know, well, we should shut down on Christmas because it's like a Christian country or something. I don't know, you know. I mean, it just, I don't know. And certainly they have a right to do so. I can't imagine that all other things being equal, I can't imagine that it's profitable. So my guess is that there was some kind of move to like boycott stores that didn't shut on Christmas. It's fucking weird. Other thing, I mean, I'm kind of glad because honestly, I didn't want to go, but I know I'm fucked now. It would have been a hard job to convince myself to go shopping, but I need to. And usually when it's this bad, I do convince myself, like facing a whole bunch of rainy days, it's the last semi-decent day. Plus, I would kind of like getting out. You know, it always cheers me up or makes me sad or something. Next card. So next player is discarding this powerful patron. He had been holding this because it would really, really help, but now that the deck's been gone through, the chances that somebody discards an additional Conquistador seems very, very low to me. So I think that's a useless card for the rest of the game, because each Conquistador in the deck only comes out once. The only new Conquistadors to come in are replacements. And the only case where maybe you're allowed to get one of those that I can think of is if all your Conquistadors, you know, if your expeditions die and you have no expedition, maybe there's some kind of mercy rule that lets you take one of those pieces of shit and use it. But that's A, pretty unlikely, and B, do you really want to keep playing at that point? Yeah, I don't even know if there is such a rule, by the way. Point in the discards, the Amazon, it's already on the board. This doesn't let you move it. It only lets you place it if it's empty. So unless the Amazon gets removed, that becomes, again, a pretty useless card. Although he's still exploring and a rediscovery might be useful, local guide connects with his scouts, probably doesn't need it. He's going to throw that away. I would like to hold that card, but the chances of me being able to actually use it are really, really low. It would have to be basically a level 1 or level 2 space that I ended up getting really unlucky on and want to rediscover it. Because even if there's something as small as a village there, I can't clear it out. It becomes the only thing there. Which is weird, because one of the things that might cover up the fact that there's a city around, you know, is that I ran into some other inhabitants and they lie to me about it, right? You know, that would be as sensible as the, yep, we've discovered, you know, we've explored the space and there's nothing there. It does make as much sense that I'd run into other people. Although you can make an argument, yeah, they wouldn't lie about it. I don't know. Okay. So that got my deals out, it's initiative, and then we do the random event. This time it's a storm, which could be potentially problematic, where there's like a conquistador working his way over to Florida or something like that. It's not that big a deal. It just sends you back into port. It doesn't wipe out the whole expedition or anything. And that is going to put me into the first impulse. I'm already a little wiped out. Didn't really want to play. I don't really want to do anything. That's kind of the problem. Like, that's the thing that would have pushed me over the edge towards shopping, is the, my computer game, I don't want to waste resources anymore. There's this event still, but I can't really compete in it. I can still gain more. I can still gain things by playing in it, but there's so much value to hoarding resources that if I can just force myself to do that, that's good. But that means I can't play. And there's really, I mean, there's tons of stuff I should do around the house. I should clean shit and everything. Oh, that's an interesting thing. So, yeah, I'll have to make a video on that. But it looks like I probably have ADHD. I just didn't think so because of the name of the damn thing. It's like, no, I can really focus on things. So you have my attention, and even things, it's more like this intense don't want to do, can't do. Just this, like, kind of like a fear of heights or something. It's not like terror or anything. It's just, I can't, you know? And that's not what it sounds like. And the other part, what was it? Hyperactive. Now, I do have to say, my brain was a little hyperactive before I started smoking. And it still kind of is at times. But I sure the hell am not. I'm not like, I wasn't the kind of kid who wanted to go outside and run around and play football or something. I'm the one who wanted to curl up and read a book instead of doing all the stuff I was supposed to do. Okay, first couple players. Over here, what the hell? Moved into where the king is. And then Pizarro went further down. I only discovered a city there. I got a bad roll. But I have a Mano de Dios. I could play that to get a reroll. But that still wouldn't guarantee me an empire. It's only 50-50 at best. It might have been a good idea to play it for +2. I might want to do that down here. I also played the Fountain of Youth over here. Near me, in case I want to explore it. I have another Conquistador in my hand, but I don't have the cards to support it, and I've got a big enough expedition. One thing that's weird about splitting your expedition is you can do that in order to reduce the gold distributions, and then distribute the gold all to one expedition as far as I can see. That seems unfair. Now, granted, it requires you have 2 conquistadors in the expedition and whatnot, but that's not hard to set up. And it does seem like a cheesy little way around things. It's no worse than what the standard game has, but still, it just, I don't know. Sorry, while you were gone, you can split a party like I did here with Balboa and Ordas. Oh gosh, while you were gone, yeah, we divvied up the gold. Yeah, too bad. And it's not just the gold that they found just then, in between before the split. There should be some sort of rule that you have to split the gold between the expedition members. I don't think there is. I'll check and make sure, because that would be a good solution for it. There's not. I peeked to see, but for it to work, you'd kind of have to figure out the divvying ratios and create a ratio among the gold that you were putting in the 2 expeditions. And that just doesn't exist. A card, I'm looking at Almagro's turn, trying to figure out whether he wants to play any of his cards. Why do I have a pilot with me? I must have had other crap, but that is useless. Desertion. Remove from play 1 Indian unit or 1 Indian guide, scouts, or interpreter. But it can only be used as a combat card. It's somewhat disturbing. I can see the argument for it. The guide wouldn't just disappear, but in the chaos of combat and whatnot, he may want to just get the hell out of there. For combat units, makes a little more sense, but it means I have to hold this. What I'd really like to do is just remove a unit, from Almagro right now, and thus play my card, but I can't because it's a combat card. It's one of those, given the interpreter and guide and whatnot option, that I almost feel like it should be, again, a dual-use card. Almagro's doing, he's in an imperial city. I still haven't marked these fuckers. I'm such an idiot. And he's going to plunder it. Well, why would he want to? Shouldn't he take care of getting his expedition in order and whatnot? Everything's in order except I need to do diplomacy. I may do diplomacy in that city, but I'd like to plunder it first, since that's an option right now. So I'm going to go to that. But Pizarro played this, forcing him to violate the sacred women, which will be a +1 on... Sorry, a -1 on the plunder die roll, and a -1 on the plunder exhaustion table, which could make it so that there is no gold there ever again. Oops. Okay, so the plunder table, this is an imperial city, and I don't think I have a hostage. So that's a 4. I get 25 gold. Which I don't think I'm going to disperse right away. Simply because everything's kind of in good shape here for now. Although there is the theft card. And then the plunder exhaustion. Again, a -1 here. I need 2 dice, so I gotta find that guy that I dropped down here. Ugh. I get a 5. That almost taps things out, but doesn't quite. And I put a plunder attempt marker kind of near the city. A couple of things at the beginning of the last turn. Cordoba and Balboa both recover so that I can use them. Balboa's hand, he's got another Conquistador that I kind of don't want to play right yet because did I have a... Oh, I have the 7 cities. I'll put them up near me. Everything's showing up in the south. Just to kind of claim them over here. I could put them, you know, there's still an opportunity for me to operate on this map if I want to, but keeping things near where I am seems to prevent things. I only have 1 Buena Suerte a ambos, which allows me to move 2 expeditions at the same time. There's a hostile city that's sitting between, well, in any direction, between Balboa and any of his options. I could play that and collect my units now, but I think what I'd rather do first is I'd rather have Ordas do his diplomacy now, because that'll put me, then I can plunder this city, which is not an imperial city. The biggest card play in a combat I've seen yet. This guy over here played a Indian uprising. Since the town had already, or city had already been plundered, it creates an extra unit, so 4 units were generated. But a betrayal's in play, which means I got to pick this big 40 and take it out. I've got fortifications that'll give me a +1, but I'm facing some problems, which is the Indians are going to have a +1 on their combat round in the first round because of bolas, and the total value of the horse units will be halved, and they lose their first strike. So this is going to be a little bloodier. I don't know if I want to roll it out on camera. I guess. Okay. So Almagro here is at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, right? But the horses are halved. Yeah. So it's 14. And I'm at +2 in combat. 14 at +2. So that's a 10, which will hit one of these. Take the 15 out. Okay. On the other side, 25, 30. A +1, -1. And this only works 1 round. The fortifications go 2. That's a 5. That's going to be a morale hit. Okay. The bolas are gone. They've done their job. The narrow defile is all combat. Okay. So we're back at the 14 at, what did I say it was? +2 Did I remember this? 14 at +2. That's an 11. That's going to be pretty hefty. That takes out one more. And they're at 15 at -1. Ooh, that'll be a hit. The horses, you know, they're reduced, but whatever. The horses are more worthwhile. The Spaniards could withdraw, but I feel like I'm facing a small enough force I'm willing to chance another round, especially since the betrayal's in play, and if I win, I get the unit, which will be very helpful. So, but I'm risking losing a unit, and an important one to me. So now we're looking at 5. This is gone. Oh! All right, horse dies. That's going to be a governor index point for him. And he is still at 14. He still has that horse. He's at +2, and that's it. Which will finish them off. So, we get a big guy. We lost our horsey. We lost some level there. We took a morale hit. Not a good result. And we're still on his turn. He's the one who played that card to trigger that. Ooh, I gotta swap batteries. When you first get your handful of cards, more stuff happens. So the first impulse of each turn is going to be more active. In this case, it was incredibly active. Not only did I launch that attack against Almagro with the Indians, which, I don't know, call it a wash, losing the horses, getting 40 Indians, I don't know. Indians are a little less reliable, so. Plus, they don't have the horse advantage. But then over here, let me see what else I did. I played a comita, grabbed myself some food, did a plunder, got 20 gold there, started a new expedition, playing a Buena Suerte a Ambos, moving him forward. I have another one in my hand so I can make it down here to try to discover the Mississippi, the mouth of which for some reason is in Florida, and that is the first impulse. And I'm kind of wiped out at this point. I could keep going, but I'm low on tea and whatnot. It starts off kind of exciting as well. Alvarado plays Buena Suerte a Ambos. He's using it first for Balcazar. Move me into the place. Mano de Dios. Give me enough of a chance that it's almost, you know, that it's going to be worth it. I mean, all I need is a 10 or higher. I roll a 9 plus 2 is 11. That gets me expedition, explores the entire river, essentially. Gets 60 victory points. Wow. All right, well, we have a new leader. And the Mississippi River marker is gone for the rest of the game. It's been fully explored. And he will come in on the next turn. And again, there's no turn record track, there's no turn record counter, but things happen at the end of a turn. I guess if you weren't keeping track of turns, you could put it here or on the 0 space or something. Yeah, the 0 space seems like I'm more likely to notice it. But that expedition is completed. He'll be coming in at one of the ports, according to this. Yeah, Panama or Santiago de Cuba, whichever is closer at the start of the next turn. So that was an incredibly successful die roll there. And now I'm still going to do Alvarado's turn. coming to where the types of cards may or may not matter. So I'm looking at this. It's an action card arrest warrant. Okay, normally you would use an action card during your own turn, and it says remains in play until canceled. It makes you able to target people, but as a final sentence, can also be played at any time, regardless of favor, to move governor index 1 box to the left. Which, at any time, doesn't feel like an action card anymore, you know? It's certainly neither a reaction nor a combat either, so I don't know. But this is one of the few cards, maybe the only one, that says this, as opposed to some others that seem to imply a bit of fuzziness, like, you know, reaction, or what was the one? I think it was a reaction card that sounded like it could be used as an action or something like that. I don't know what's going on there, but it just feels like there's not a lot of discipline towards these. I shouldn't have made my legend exploration first, because it means that I am clearly in the lead, and when I try to do a diplomacy, I throw a mano de Dios in, but there's 2 other -2s on there. So I am netting 1, -3, a -2 on the diplomacy table, and we'll probably have to fight a battle. This might get me the king though, so let's, not terrible. Oh yeah, that's going hostile. It wasn't too impressive, other than the desertion, getting rid of the additional troops. I ended up getting the king at no losses, essentially. Shitty units showed up. Sick and tired of hostile cities, hostile imperial cities that aren't marked. So I marked up all the ones that that had a number on the back or whatever. But here's the problem. These guys are also, so this doesn't look any different from the back of a hostile regular city, and this is an imperial city. I haven't put a letter on the back of those, a number on the back of those, because they were distinguishable on the front, and now I'm thinking I'm going to have to put a symbol on those too. Also, all the capitals needed, and you know, I'm just getting so pissed that I'm writing sloppy and everything. I'm not trying to be neat. It's pissing me off so much. Somebody mentioned I should get a label maker for it, but you know, that would be great. And I would use that for certain kinds of games so that I don't have to mark things up. But when something's pissing me off this much and it's this flawed, it just absolutely needed to be done. And, you know, it's gotten to the point where, yeah, I don't even care if I'm writing cleanly. I'm just like, make this thing somewhat playable, you know. The components. The game itself works, but yeah. I forgot a couple of things. One is there is an allied city, just one on the map, I think, that I forgot to deploy troops for. Those troops would go onto the blue player, who has a fucking horde. That is not an imperial city, so he only gets 2. But boy, are they big. Well, one of them is. Okay. The other is I was looking up because somebody, well, let me mention what I did first. So Pizarro tried to do some diplomacy, succeeded. Didn't take an asset because I have the ones that I really want. So I took some gold instead. That's fine, not a lot. But then we're on the green player. Got my green-blue issues here. And I can tell them apart. It's just, it takes an extra moment. As opposed to the white and the pale green, which I basically can't distinguish any difference between without really, really focusing. So yeah, we're on, I said the green player. There were a couple of assassination attempts in there as well, trying to wipe out kings that people had. That didn't do anything. But I did a diplomacy. Now this isn't a location that's already hostile that I was plundering. I'm hoping to get some food there or whatever. What's not clear is whether or not troops get placed. So under the diplomacy rules, it just says flip the counter to hostile and doesn't refer you to over here, but here it says units are deployed to the following times in a city when the city becomes hostile for any reason, including when a player decides to plunder it, and so on and so on. But there's nothing. So I don't know if I've caused another incident and caused an uprising. I don't think I would have done the diplomacy if I thought that was the case, but I just wanted to make sure. Since it's ambiguous, I'm gonna leave it the way I'm doing it, which is the city has not become hostile. I have wiped out the city's troops. It would require something more impressive, like an uprising card, for another set of troops to show up. That's my reading of it, but I don't know if that's what's intended. If it is what it's if it's intended to cause more troops to show up each time, well, they didn't say it, and though they didn't say the opposite either. But it's not becoming hostile. So by the strict letter of the rules, I would say, well, yeah, they did say it. But yeah, all right. But I got nothing good out of doing the diplomacy, and I may want to withdraw out of there because Almagro is not that good. Well, he's not that bad at diplomacy. I just don't have any cards to help me with it. Now, a card that's going to be a little weird, but first let's talk about what happened. Down here, Balboa and Ordos used the dual movement to bring themselves together, and now it's one force again. I didn't have enough money to make it worth splitting the treasure or whatever. So I'm on the last player, the blue player. He plays a Free the King. He wants to play that against Alvarado. Cause him more problems. May be used against any town or city space which contains a captured king. Doesn't have to be imperial. The town or city immediately becomes hostile and generates double the usual number of Indian units. This is an action card, not during his turn. I think the troops and the king just show up there, and if I'm still there, you know, if I don't move out of the space, they're going to attack me. But I have an opportunity to leave without battle, I guess. I don't know. But the only time you can play action cards is during your own turn, and it would seem weird for there to be a fight at that point. Oh, no, actually. It would give me, so it gives me the opportunity to declare an attack on him, if I so desire. But I don't really have to. I can let him go if he wants to withdraw and take my own turn, which I think is what I want to do. You know, I don't think I want to expend my action violating someone else, even though that player is clearly in the lead. But I've got my own, you know, jobs to do. This might be my chance to wipe out the expedition of the lead player. So, you know, it might just be worth it. It might just be worth it. So I'm going to beg for people to throw in their combat capability. I don't think anybody has anything left. Pretty nasty. Alvarado has his horses wiped out. His governor index is dropped. He's got a morale hit. He was wounded. He just doesn't have a very big expedition anymore. Where is Balcazar? Balcazar may be my answer for this, is to try to get him together. That took his action, but I want to take a look. Can I do this? 2 separate expeditions. Doesn't seem to indicate, so I don't think I can use that in conjunction with the Indian attack. I think it has to be 2 conquistadors, although it kind of sucks because if you don't happen to have 2 conquistadors useful, and I don't, Candia is up there, it means you can't use it ever. Whereas it would be kind of nice to be able to do a dirty thing with someone, you know, with an Indian force, as well as play your action. But again, reading it strictly, I don't see it that way. And so this goes here. This was, again, a big enough set of impulses. I want to run away now. Also, Alvarado can't do anything because he was wounded. I don't have a substitute or anything for him. Anybody to do anything with his force while he's out. So no food, a morale hit, weakened force. This is looking like a bad situation, but Balal is heading down, since I can use him, in order to maybe try to rescue him. It's going to take a couple of rounds, though. I don't remember how many movements you have, but it's not 6 like it is overseas. It's like 2 or 3 spaces you're allowed to move over discovered territory. Now, this is a big deal. This is why something like this disappearing could be a problem. Although that isn't the one that disappeared. It's only towns we've lost. We haven't lost any villages. But it is possible that, like here, I could no longer transit this space. It's no longer known. There's no path through there that I can follow. That's a little disturbing, to tell you the truth. For the most part, it probably won't matter, but in some case where I'd want to get reinforcements down to Pizarro, I would have to send them by sea and then try to find him. Good luck with that. To that, well, Pizarro working his way down, but everybody else is kind of plundering stuff, just grabbing their gold. Now, the exciting thing, I guess, that happened was Cordoba here got a this is an imperial city. Okay. Got a plunder depletion with his cash. Nobody's cashing in right now. I figure, there were targets for theft that were good enough. Nobody would go for any of that at this point. That puts us on a turn-in check. I mean, it's possible, I'm moving on. I just got a couple of packages. Well, just found them. I don't know if they were delivered today. That seems likely, but they may have been delivered late last night after it got dark. I don't tend to check my downstairs all that much, and it's probably when it came because they were damp. My counter water measures under the porch have started to fall apart. There were ones I inherited, and I tried to, jury rig them back into position, and the boxes got wet. But the lucky thing is, one of them was shrink wrapped, so no issue there. The other one had enough plastic inside the box that the actual game didn't get damaged. One of them is a review copy I knew about. The other one's a mystery. I think probably somebody, the name looks familiar, and it's a game by him. I just shocked to see something that's like, that comes without any warning. I checked my records, of my email, of my PMs and stuff like that, and there's no indication about this particular game. But it looks fairly light, fairly small, and an interesting enough subject that I probably will treat it as a review copy, just to get it out there. But yeah, that's just in case I'm mistaken. I wouldn't put it past me. My brain's not all that good anymore. Anyway, gonna take another break. I know this was a fairly quick turn, but I come up, I do X amount of work. Whatever X is sort of the minimum that's sort of a reasonable level, and then I go away. Quickly through 3 players. Balboa marched in and attacked the king here. He had a light force. Was able to beat him, capture the king. Great. Forgot about my war dogs. They don't help except in ambush. Okay. Pizarro marched down, got another city. And then over here, Almagro did a rally action, but I combined it with divvying the gold, getting me some 28 victory points, as well as getting rid of a morale hit. Now, Balboa has a morale hit on him, but I wanted to capture the city make decisions based on that. If I'd gotten like another just sort of random morale hit there, the rally would still be a good thing, you know, like fighting with one morale hit isn't bad at all. We finish things up with the Alvarado. He can't move. Balcazar sweeping down, dropped an arrest warrant over on Almagro. And he moved to the other city because I've already pillaged out the capital. That means the king is not going to be particularly helpful to me anymore. I don't know if I should even be keeping track of him. He only, I think, help. Well, he may help with some diplomacy roles. But yeah, we're just plundering this area. There's a possibility of another empire here. There's only one more empire left, though. So it'll be a race to try to put it here or down in Pizarro land. Yeah. And we make a check. Oh, we're at 2 through 5 now. Oh, turn ends. All right, let's feed. Ooh, we got a problem here. Wow. I mean, I needed to rally. I needed food more, but it's going to be hard to get food. It would have been hard to get food because I'm in a city that is hostile to me, and I probably don't have a ton of diplomacy cards. So I gotta find what the effect is a morale check. Okay. We actually have quite a few morale checks. He doesn't have any food between his two. So here. I don't think I have anything useful here. Am I next to an allied city? That would help. So Cordoba would be safe even if he didn't have food, but he has food. Yeah, so 5, he's fine. Alvarado, not next to anything friendly, that's for sure. 1, he takes a loss and a morale check. That's a starvation loss. That hits him. He is the white one. Again, I have to check, every single time because I don't remember, and the counters, I have to compare them with each other. And a morale hit. He's looking really nasty. Balcazar over here, not near anything friendly. He takes a morale hit. This is not good for his faction. Over here we eat. I did not and do not have to remove food here because I've got an allied city. Let me just make sure I don't have an allied city anywhere else. I do not. Okay. So that's subsistence and no malaria anywhere. Victory check. All right, we're getting to numbers that are a little bit more significant here. So, we're up to 40 here. But again, the total is 200. That's a long ways away. So I'm not going to even really worry. I remove the plunder rolls, but not the plunder out. That stays. But these guys come off. And those cities are now plunderable without a penalty again. We move this up, and we will be going to the first impulse up here. Well, we'll be going to the start of the turn. But this is a good place to pause. I'm going to do another turn before I send up. Made all the hard choices with the strategy cards, new initiative order set, and rolled on the random events table. We get a new legend. There are 2 legends available to be placed, so we roll to see which one it's going to be. It will be Prester John. The only one left is El Dorado. We roll to see which map it goes on. We haven't done this, so I figure odd even. It'll be on the southern map, and then we roll a die. These are numbered 1 through 6. If I get one that's already hit, we still try on the same map, as, if I recall correctly. So it's not like it's equally distributed, which kind of bugs me. Like, let's see what we got here. Because I would rather, careful. Legends and random events. Randomly choose random map choice. And then you choose a space randomly on there. Yeah. It cannot be occupied by a legend or within 3 spaces of an expedition. Now, 3 spaces of an expedition is unlikely, especially, well, really on either map. On this map, you'd have to be hunting legends already for that to happen. On this map, 3 spaces, well, here this is possible. You can see I followed that chain. But for the most part, they're set in 3 spaces. So you'd have to be, at the entry space for it to happen. And I guess that's what happened here as well. So number 4 would be this one. So Prester John's kingdom is there. Now, that's going to put me to the impulses. I put Candia up here. I'm not going to start right away. And going through that starting section is painful, and I know the first impulse is always painful because everybody's got lots of cards. And they want to do bad things. They want to get rid of them. The first 2 impulses are when you want to play cards. Anytime after that, it's like, well, you might get stuck with cards. And I had some people, 2 of them have Conquistadors in their hand that they could have played, but I just kind of couldn't make my mind up. And we got far enough in that, actually end of turn was fairly likely. First impulse of the turn, and the leading player is going first, and that means a whole lot happened at once. First of all, letter from the crown got rid of his arrest warrant. He found he had some maize, extra food. Used letters from the governor to hurt Balboa, who had too high a governor index anyway, dropping him down to a 0. I could have used that against him as well, but he's already sunk pretty hard. So, especially with, what is this? The 7 cities up here, the Amazon not far away. But then I went for a plunder attempt and took poison darts and a penalty here. Basically, the penalty here meant I got nothing out of my plunder, but it didn't hurt. It didn't wreck the city. So, there's that. Arrow also has a kind of intense turn, not as much. Influence with the governor. I used that to bonus myself. Why not? Dropped another arrest warrant on Almagro. And explored into here and found the final of the empires, which means there's not going to be one down here. There's also not going to be anything up here, but I think that was already kind of cut off. And yeah, those are the only options. Spaces up here and stuff. Could have triggered one at one point in the game, but there weren't enough next to each other anymore once those were chosen, once the choices were made. What gets me with this is there's very little real competition, right? There's this card playing activity, which is stepping in the place of like a Source of the Niles. Just everything is kind of random that happens to you. But honestly, the interaction between players outside of slapping cards on each other is largely there's one remaining place, which is, hey, you know, it's possible to attack someone if there's an arrest warrant against them. There's also the, hey, take your action to use a native force to attack someone instead of taking an action yourself, or multiple actions, because the way I read the multi-expedition card doesn't look like it allows you to use the natives and a conquistador. And what that all kind of adds up to is very, very limited, you know. Sure, Source of the Nile also is very, very limited, but it's like you traded away the narrative flavor of things, creating this more competitive play. There's no question. But the competition is sort of, well, it's contrived, you know. It's based entirely on the card play, which is largely just influencing things that you as a player, you know, whatever you represent as a player, if it's not mystical, you just shouldn't have control over. And I've gone on about that enough. But yeah, the actual competition, the only place I'm seeing this going to happen is perhaps here with this arrest warrant, assuming that, you know, Belalcazar and Alvarado can figure out a way to operate, you know, to have enough forces and decide that they're better and can make a shot at Almagro because he's in the lead. But in general, you know, all it is this sort of race to get to your city and plunder it as much as possible. Going this deep was not a good idea. But, you know, who's to know that this wasn't going to work out, right? Consider the opposite case, right? If Balboa had failed up here, but Pizarro was making his way down, Balboa would be so much more screwed. He might have other options, like get onto the Mexico map or whatever. But yeah, I mean, and Pizarro could have moved up and said, I'm a better leader. Fuck it, I'll just challenge him for those things. Looking at blue player here, first of all, he played a governor's daughter, gave him another index point. These can be kind of deceptive because they're not showing up over here, you know, but neither are the cities you're sitting on. And again, you know, 20 points out of 200 is still not a hell of a lot. I found I had a lost card, which I probably should have played on Pizarro, simply because there is no one else who's exploring. But, you know, whatever. And then I have this Disgruntled Soldiers, which is appealing to play. Now, I can play it over here against Balboa. Balboa is doing okay, isn't he? I'm trying to figure out who he is. He has no points in the bank yet. He has some cash. He's doing all right, you know. Or I could play it against, say, Alvarado, who has 2 morale hits, and it would be a bigger deal for him. And I'd have more of a chance of hitting something. Of course, with a 6, actually, no, if I roll a 4 or higher, I could wipe Alvarado out. Is that what I want to do is the question. Well, maybe. The problem is, with the arrest warrant in place, Alvarado might screw with Almagro, and Alvarado is sitting, he's the white player, on some debt. No biggie, nothing can be done with that. He has the most victory points. Fuck him, man, he's gone. I went for the wrong guy with the arrest warrants. Yeah. I did not see that he was at 60, and he's only in the 40s. Okay, so +2. We can take a shot at wiping him out. We got him. Let me check to see if I have another card hidden, but I've got this one. So we'll force a reroll. I'm not sure this is allowed. It seems like it should be. You know, the game is kind of weird because it says on a die roll of yours, but the person rolling the die here is the person playing the card. So another shot at him. That's a 5, no effect. But we did wipe out one of his, you know, backup cards. What's Blue doing with Cordoba? I have a hostile city here. I have plenty of food. This is an imperial city. Sounds to me like it's plunder time. I'll just roll it, I guess. Imperial city. No markers. Oh, is it an imperial city? I can't tell. No, it's just a normal city. But yeah, it's plunder time. Nothing impacts me. I hate that I have to do this. Like, if I didn't have a... It's because I'm doing it online and I shouldn't be. Okay. No impacts. One die there. Let you see it again. So I get $6. It's a city. That's 2 dice. And it doesn't die. And I'm not going to cash in. I'm just collecting up my money. It really makes sense to cash in when you can get the morale advantage off of it. But if you're at risk of like losing an explorer, like if he had cash on him or something, I would cash in definitely. Data here is an interesting choice. I have a big force, right? I don't really necessarily want to make that any bigger. I probably shouldn't have started him here. I probably should have put him, oh no, he had to go to the closest. I probably should have put him at Panama. I have something that allows me to move him, and I may get him over here, but there are so many different locations here that I can go exploring for now that I found the big one, right? Well, no, I did not find... What the hell is going on? I gave the 60 points to the wrong person. Blue should have those 60 points. Right? Because that was for discovering this, and I got my players mixed up. That's my assumption. Because he made the successful discovery. So let's do that instead. All right. God. That'll get me over to a different color that I can't distinguish. That's the white player, I guess. And the white player is going... flickering. I got an extra light on mine, and that means both of them are flickering harder. The white player is dropped an Indian uprising on Almagro. Now, I could just launch my attack, because the thing is, if I kill someone here, then I will not be able to do it. I also dropped a desertion, getting rid of this counter. I do that before I draw. And blue added a tactical advantage. There's nasty cards over here for combat. These guys didn't want to play them, but blue feels like he's my main competition at this point. And white, well, I need to clear the way. I could have held off, done the desertion, and attacked him directly, and then had the uprising. But by doing the uprising, I'll be able to... instead of moving my own leader, I'll make an attack on him. So let's see what kind of attack we're looking at. Okay, so it's 52. The tactical advantage says that the Indians get to attack first. Phew.
got away with that. Okay, so 40, 52. No die roll bonuses. No war dogs. It doesn't really mean a hell of a lot, them being able to attack first, because they get 2 hits. That clears out 2 of these units. But because it's only the first round, the Spanish units aren't going to get any advantage. So this was kind of a wasted card. And he is at 8 with a combat rating of 2. Gets himself a 12. That's 2 hits on them. We'll kill both the 20s. And now we're at even. And it's 12 versus 12. Here come the Indians. They get a 5. That does nothing. Yeah, that must look great on the camera. And an 11 coming back is 2 more. So it's a victory. Leader loss check. Nope. So these come back with no problem. And basically the only thing that happened was the desertion, which I could have played on my own turn. I got no advantage out of doing that, and that eats up the white player turn. Boa's side, he played a disgruntled soldiers against Alvarado. The idea being, you know, wiping a conquistador out, that just seems like a good idea. This could go very badly. This thing could perhaps take that out. This guy is just asking to be knocked out. And a poison darts was played against him while he did a plunder. His plunder was very successful. He got 45 gold. He's got a pile of money. Since I have a morale hit, I'm going to hold off. Ooh, it's actually more than 45. Ho, 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 ho. I got 60. I forgot I had the king there. Yeah, so I get 15 more. Wow. Okay, so I did a plunder here. Got some gold, but plundered the city out. This makes me a little bit less of a target in my view, but with that arrest warrant on me and these forces coming down, maybe I should have bugged out of there. I'm looking at it and I'm like, I'm not in the lead, man. I gotta try to get treasure. And if I lose the battle and lose my expedition, so be it. And if I win the battle, that may put me in a position where good stuff can happen, you know, where I'm kind of alone here. Sure, Alvarado's there, but he's just waiting to die. Then on Pizarro's side, he did a diplomacy, got the best possible result, all the way up on this. He rolled a total of 16 using missionary, interpreter, his own high diplomacy, which is, well, is good diplomacy, not like his combat value, and ended up getting some gold out of it as well. Didn't want to take an asset. I've got the things I really want, although another Mano de Dios might be useful, who knows. Now for the white player. Balcazar grabbed Voyagers of Fortune, extra troops, and has marched in to go arrest someone over here. Now, he has nothing. I can't do this special automatic charge type thing. Those can only be done against Indian empires. But I have first fire here, and that's 24 plus 3. Because, let me make sure. I'm not sure the horses will work as effectively against Spanish forces. So I have 24, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31 at plus 3. If I can find the combat table. But this is simultaneous. And chances are I'm not going to be able to defeat him, simply because only 2 rounds of combat are necessary. Well, that's pretty big. That's 4 hits. Every single infantry takes a hit. That means I'm probably going to do some damage here. And then it's 8 coming back at me with a combat value of 2. 6, 7, that's a morale hit. Balcazar takes a morale hit. That's his second morale hit. Now he's going to be at -1. But with the artillery and everything, he's still doing fine. Second round of combat, let's take a look. We're still at 24, 28, 31 at +2 now instead of +3. Yeah, 4. That is a morale hit. No more mano de Dios, not on either side. So I do a morale hit on these guys, and I have failed. An 8 at 2. Another morale hit on Balcazar. So that was not a successful arrest. And these guys are allowed to retreat. They can't go into here. I can't go into there. I've got to look because I may have problems. The retreat rules may cause me additional morale hits. I forgot a section of the rules. So you take retreat losses. See, here's the problem. There's a break in the page between the different rules. And what I missed is you always do take a morale hit when you retreat, if you're Spanish. Retreating units suffer the following effects. Spanish force possessing artillery. So where I think I have to retreat is actually to here with this other guy. He could declare combat on me, but he's not going to, you know, and I am not allowed to try to do anything to him. Oh no, I am allowed to on my own turn. So I might be able to wipe him out. Because I'm allowed to attack any other conquistadors now. Okay. But I also would lose possibly artillery, and it could be captured. And I lose half my gold. That gold is just lost. It's not captured. It would be captured if I was defeated. And now we make leader loss checks. Yeah, I screwed up at an earlier point. So the green leader is fine, and Balcazar is dead. Balcazar is dead. I get a random one of these in his place. Wonderful Panfilo de Naves. 1 combat, nothing else. And another morale hit for losing the leader. And things are going pretty nasty. That attack, you know, I had overwhelming forces, all kind of advantages, but I failed to do anything useful there. Oops. And I'm in danger of losing my good conquistador to Almagaro. Now, this doesn't really necessarily help Almagaro as a player, or the green player or whatever. Because see, I've expended resources in fighting this battle against the other player and wiping them out or whatever. I might be able to gain something. Yeah, I might be able to gain something against Naves. Now, it might behoove me to run away because Naves still has numerical advantages, but he has all those morale hits. He's got to do something about that, and he's not in a good place right now. He's in a hostile city. Yeah, so it's kind of a weird crapshoot as to what I want to do with any given person. We'll see what I choose. The idea of splitting my gold to help improve my morale seems like a good one, but I am still facing an ugly large troop that should have beaten me. Of course, now it's under worse leadership, which is a big deal too. But what I was going to say is the fact that these two are fighting each other. It's not like in some games where, you fight someone and, think Risk as sort of the classic example, but there are a fair number of games where you fight someone and you get enough out of the battle that it makes up for or actually exceeds what you lose in combat. In this, the resources of your expedition are being expended on that. Meanwhile, other people are just, playing that little race for gold, for plundering and whatnot. Which is why the Pizarro move is not good either, because he went this whole long distance without getting any gold, because he didn't hit his imperial city. He didn't have to go for one. He could have, stopped at cities along the way and plundered them. And that might have been a good move once it started becoming apparent just how far away the imperial cities were going to be. And finally, Balboa ends the turn, turning in 85 points. That gets him 62 victory points after all the reductions. Does a rally, gets rid of that. That was pretty easy. That's where we're going to stop for a little while. I want to point out these record tracks. They are not an appealing way to handle victory points. There's too many counters on it. It would be very, very helpful to be able to just see, hey, who's winning? But I have to look here. Well, nobody's over there. He should be over there. I don't know. I was going to put all the victory points on one place and maybe the money on a different. That would probably help. Although it's going to confuse things. Okay, so there we have that, which, now we can take a look, but we got the 10s and the 1s on the same chart. There just should be a victory point track that's divided into 100s, 10s, and 1s. Just handle that separately. Make it smaller, make the counters smaller if need be. Of course, everything's big in this game. There is no small counters at all, but some small counters might not be a bad thing. For example, these cards can barely hold all the crap they have on them anyway. And then, because, there's really not space on the board for 3 tracks to be there, now you could twiddle around with things and do that. And then, similarly, have a money track, a separate money track. Why separate? Because it's important to be able to look at the victory points and see how people are. But again, a separate like double or triple money track so that you can keep track of the debt and pesos. Although honestly, debt and pesos are pretty minor. The standard game introduces these concepts, and they're barely impactful on the game. I'm really not sure how much the financial side of the standard game really helps it. But there's other things that I kind of like, the randomizing, your starting, goods and whatnot, which of course is just hugely unbalancing, right? You could start with a whole bunch of money that you just get for free or not. And that's just the whims of luck. At least with your starting Conquistadors. Anyway. All right. I got something of a tough choice here with Almagro. I could hit Alvarado's group. He's not going to have his combat bonus because he's wounded still. He's got very few units. I can wipe him out almost assuredly. Unless the guy's got fantastic magic in his hand that I don't think exists in this game. However, if I do so, it means Narvaez can come after me. Now, he's badly hurt in terms of morale. Chances are I'll be able to get away from Narvaez. This will make Alvarado pay. So I'm going to hit him. I'm pissed off at him for attacking me, basically. I'm like, you know what? I survived this. I'm okay. I'm not winning the game by any means, but I can really lay some hurt on this guy. He's not really my competition, but I am pissed off at him at this point. Force is particularly impressive. 2, 4, 6, 8, attacking 2. Try this move again. Didn't feel as daring. I think I did it a little bit more carefully. Okay, so I've got 8 strength points with a +2 for my combat. No cards came into play here. +2 for my combat, but I have 2 morale hits, so it's only +1. This is where I might fail, is I might not do enough damage. 6, 7, all I do is a morale hit to him. That puts him up to 3, but before that 3, he's on the 2 table at -1. Yeah, and he does 1 to me. Great. Okay, second round has to be fought as well. This is looking like he's going to get away. He can't take an action, but I think he can retreat. Okay, so I'm back on the 8 at, well, I could get 2 hits. I was at +2, now I'm at even. With a really good roll, it'd be a 12. I could hurt him, and he's on the 2 at -2. No. All right. Alvarado is going to withdraw. Joining Narvaez here. That causes an additional morale hit, from what I recall. And, well, that didn't go as well as I thought. Of course, if I combine these two, I can do a rally and try to improve things and let him try to get away. I'm probably not going to be able to destroy him. He's here. Pizarro does another diplomacy. Gets a gold roll, but only gets a couple of gold off of it. More food, though. And Cordoba. I've got the king with me, but he really doesn't help me anymore. Moved up to this hostile city to start looting it as well, because it has no troops on it. Up the impulse. The white player over here tried to do a rally. He failed. He's using Narvaez because Alvarado is wounded. Just didn't get anything out of it. And greenish, pale, limey guy, Balboa. I ran away from the hostile capital I was on and found myself another city. That's irrespective of the fact that somebody played a lost on me. There's a minor chance, it doesn't really do much. I also threw a disgruntled soldiers over on Almagro, hoping to weaken him. Yeah, on Almagro. I didn't want to hit Narvaez. Almagro's doing better. Narvaez can catch up a little bit. As things stand right now, we have to look at the 10s here. But blue, then me, then green is the order. Blue doesn't have any morale hits and doesn't look likely to get any anytime soon. So hitting Almagro seemed reasonable. Make it an end check. And we move on. And that's all I'm doing right now. The problem is my sleep schedule is so fucked up. And every time I wake up, which is every few hours, I want to eat. Obviously, I'm getting too fat. But now I'm like starting to feel kind of faint from hunger, which is not good, but I think I can make something. It's been several hours since I ate. So on this next round, Almagro is going to do a rally action. Some nastiness to do. This is a useless card. I've mentioned it before. The way that it's written, it's better not to ever use it. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divvy my money. Keep $3 maybe to bribe the governor. Because $10 says 5 goes to, 2 goes to the crown. There's 4 of these, so that's 3 gone. I'm down to 7. I could throw this in and get a little bit more, but 7. And then I have an extra Conquistador, so I'm down to only gaining $4 off this 10. $4 off the 10 for green. So I get 4 victory points. And that puts me up here. And now my morale check is at +1. I have a rally of, one of these guys doesn't exist, right? No, Almagro's fine. Yeah, I have a rally of 2. We play with fate here. I have nothing that helped, I think. I looked. It's such a painful aspect of... only when I'm using the video. It works fine solo otherwise. It's just with the video one-handed, it's a pain in the ass to check the cards. So I'm at +1 on the rally table. I'm sorry. +3 on the rally table. And that's pretty good. And I get a 15, which says I cure my morale problem. I have food, so I'm in good shape other than the arrest warrant and my small army. But on top of that, I'm going to go to the governor table. Rally was my action for the turn. Bribing the governor is a free facet. So I'll pay $3, just get rid of the rest of that gold so I don't get thieved. Just trying to get my index up. And I roll 2 dice. I hope I don't roll a 2. I roll a 6, that gets me a point. So that's not bad. But I don't get to pursue Alvarado there and his force. Not that I want to. They're bigger than me. Yeah, they have all those morale hits, but and a shittier leader and everything, but they're bigger. As I said something mistaken. I was saying this king is probably not worth anything. He still is. It's any imperial city that he gives a bonus. And so Cordova, sorry, plundered with the marker there. Got like 25 gold, even though the priests hid the treasure. That was something green played on him, I think. I got a lot of money here. You know, terrible things could happen. I don't think there's any real reason for me not to cash in and get some victory points off of it. So if I do 55, that's -11. I don't remember the numbers on... Unfortunately, there's so much information that's like numerical stuff. So something like this was really useful, but I didn't see it until later, and I just do not... if it takes me a while to find something on the charts, it's very hard for me to remember it's there later on. I get used to looking it up in the rulebook, but I don't think the division values are there. Which says to me that I look for the standard game rules. I hate when games have multiple sets of rules. This doesn't really take much away. There's some things that you just don't do, like setup and a couple of other things. Conquistadors are 3. Okay, foot and cannon are 4. Are every 4. Horses are every 2. Okay. So 55 drops to 44. 41. This guy's a different expedition. 40, 39, 38, 37. So I get 36 victory points by spending all this. You know, I am the blue player. So that puts me up to 96. Still not in range, but you can see the game is just like zoomed up in terms of, you know, for a long time, nobody's collecting anything significant of victory points. But now, with these cities being found, and you could pillage cities that are not imperial cities, it's just the rate is worse. And then there's also the race for 5 extra victory points to get the first imperial city, which is also of importance. Oh yeah, and I also had the big bonus because Candia is the guy who found whatever he found, the Mississippi. Yeah, he found the Mississippi. Cool. Okay. So I was able to do that. There's nothing else I can really do except I could bribe the governor. Do I have a card for that? I didn't really look at my cards. I could move my other expedition. I have an extra card to allow me to start doing that. I don't really have somewhere that I definitely want to put him. So, see, the thing is, if I expend that card, it gives me another card next turn. Like, it gives me another slot for cards. And we're getting to the point where this is there. I've got a big enough expedition here. You know what? I am going to play this. Because I'm going to move him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to here. Because there's interesting stuff down here. So that if this expedition is running out of good things to do, I've got an allied city. Nobody else has one. And that's something that I can leverage to allow this guy to sit in the general area while I go for another expedition. Bribed the governor and got myself an extra point off that. I noticed something that I forgot about there, and I got to keep an eye out on it. It probably didn't affect anything because I think people were pretty low on the track, close to 0. But as you get away from 0, there's a modifier to the initial funds that you can take when you bring in a new conquistador. That probably doesn't impact anyone. The big baddie would be this guy, and he does not have a conquistador. And there are no more conquistadors left. They're all in people's hands. But like, this guy has one. Now, he hasn't moved off the 0 space. I think Pizarro has one to back him up, too. If he could get up a little higher, he could get a slightly larger force. But, you know, it's not a big modifier. If it's positive, if it's negative, there's chances that you can get so little money that off the reinforcement table that it would really suck. You know? So, I mean, it's good to have the bonus. There's no question there. He's going to do a couple of things here. First, he's going to free the king on the one guy who has, well, how do I feel about Balboa? Now, blue is definitely in the lead, so I'm going to play this against him. That's going to cause a force to exist there, but I'm not going to trigger an attack there unless, those extra cards don't work. I'm not going to trigger an attack there because I really need to do the rally. I actually need to do a lot. I need a big turn here because I have no food. But the rally is more important. I don't know why. If I'm the guy who failed, I don't know why I did not play the priest before. Oba there is facing 110 strength points of stuff. That might be enough to give him some hurt here, but it's not going to wipe him out. So it makes perfect sense not to take an action. And now I've opened it up so that other people could take an action with that if he sticks around there. So that kind of is neat. In addition, let's do my rally. Alvarado is not happy. It's hard to tell. Almagro and Alvarado, and I have to look by name. And of course, the name's not available on this because it has to be flipped over because he's injured. It would be so much easier if there were some kind of, player coloring for Conquistador expeditions. Hey, limit each player to 2 expeditions. They probably can't manage more than that at a time. reasonably. Or maybe 3, whatever. You're talking 15 counters instead of however many that you have. Wow, that is actually getting kind of big because you need to mark where they are. So without some kind of placemat or positioning or something, you're then talking like 30 counters. If you were talking 5 times 2, 10, 20 counters, that's probably about the same. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Yeah. So you could use the same amount of counters, and I think these might be Conquistadors as well. You could use the same amount of counters and give each player 2 counters. And you know what? They can use something else as a counter for, or 2. You would have a marker that indicates the marker that's on the board for each Conquistador, and they'd be color-coded by player. And worse comes to worse, if you really needed to split up into 3 expeditions or something, you could fudge that, right? Make your own counter, use little other things, whatever. There are a couple of blanks in the game anyway, so whatever. And perhaps there might be too much of some of these markers. It's hard to tell. I'm not seeing a lot of plundered outs, but I could see a game where people are plundering every city they find, basically. Anyway, so what am I at here? For rally, I got a rally of 0, but I get myself a +2 on there. And there's nothing that penalizes rally except for the disgruntled troops, which is the card that... Oh no, there's other things here. Okay. I don't have any food, so I can't spend one. So I get a 7. That's 2 of my morale hits. That puts it so that, I'm not in a position where I immediately lose a unit due to another morale hit. But it's still obviously not optimal. That expedition is not happy right now. And that's all he's doing, which puts it over to the green. Green has to make a decision now. Do I want to fuck blue over, by launching an attack on him? That might be pretty cool, actually. I started another expedition under Coronado, get him out of my hand. I had a support of the church card as well. Ended up getting an okay $7. I go a few more bucks in debt, and then I noticed how horrible these guys are. Somehow this is even harder to tell the color differentiation than these are. It's just the tan background. It's probably just something within the eye rather than something within the actual colors there that are any different. But the tan sort of mutes both of them into something more similar. And then I will launch this attack on Coronado because I have a handful of hurt for him. The pain I have, human sacrifices causes a morale hit to begin with. Nobody's got a defection type card though, which could have gotten some of these big units out of there. So the Spaniards are going to have a huge force. He doesn't have anything defensive, but he has this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 40 points. Remember, there's a stacking limit referenced on a card, but I didn't see anything in the rules to support that. And since I started playing, since I had exceeded the stacking limit already in some cases, by the time that card came out, I'm like, well, no way I'm going to apply this. It's not in the errata. I don't know. Maybe I missed it in the rules. I don't think so, though. Anyway, we said 40. Our leader has a combat of 1 plus another 1. So that is +2. And this is first fire. I got to pull those out of there. I only get a 6, which is only 1 hit. I could do more, but that seems like a waste to me. I mean, I'd just be getting a reroll, and, it would be maybe another unit dead. Okay. 6, or 1, I get to kill the biggest thing I can. which ends up being this. Now I said there was 110. What is this? Let's see what there is here, because that may have fallen. I think it did. There was an 8 in there. Okay. I said there was 110 there before. They're doubled for this. That doesn't really matter, but for the entirety of the combat, they'll be doubled. Betrayal. I didn't get to play that. I did have the right card. I'm on the wrong side. I can't force the Indians to switch side. Okay. So, and getting rid of the painted warriors is fine. I probably don't want to hold on to it. This is, this might be the end of the turn. So if we can cause any hits, we cause the governor index to take damage as well. Okay. And I have no bonuses, though. That's the only problem. I get a 7. That's going to be a hit. So blue gets knocked back. He's going to take a hit from me. Now, the hits have to be allocated Indians first, then Spaniards, then Indians. But this gets a simultaneous attack back. So 50, 65, I said there was 40 here, 105. We're well over at +2. So at the same time, we get to shoot this. Oh, wow, crappy rolls. I get another hit. I'm not going to take this weak unit when I can kill that. That's one round of combat. Nobody put encirclement or anything. I got to swap batteries. Round plus the freebie special. And now I'm here, and I'm looking at 25. I'm over the top. Remember, I'm doubled from the painted warriors. I don't know why I threw them in. I only get a 3. That's one more hit. Now it's got to be against the Spaniard, so I'll take it on one of those. I'm not going to get to kill one of those, I think. As a matter of fact, the human sacrifice, it takes effect now. It wouldn't have taken effect because I hit Indians. It's okay if I'm sacrificing Indians. That's not going to bother the governor. Well, if Indians fighting Indians results in sacrifice, that's expected. It's Spaniards being sacrificed that's a problem. And we come back at them, and again, we're going to be at the top at +2. And we do 10. That's 2 hits. Do we want these big counters out there? Sure. I don't know. Like, the question is, who's likely to generate deaths? More Indians to fight. But yeah, we'll just throw the big counters out there. Okay. So that's the second round of combat. The Spaniards have an option to run. It's probably a good idea because a 2-hit could hit my guy. So I am going to flee back towards my allied city. That way I won't need food. And that is the end of that. Now, this didn't count as an action, but that did, oddly enough. I kind of feel like bringing a Conquistador in should count as an action, but I don't know. It's not specified either way, because these aren't regular cards. I don't know. Like, I'm playing them as if they're action cards, but nowhere does it say you should do that, but they get put in the strategy deck, so what the hell? I don't know what I'm supposed to play them as, because they could be played before, which means you have to hold them for a turn before you can deploy them, if that were the case. And now we're making an end of turn check. And the turn goes on. Ugh, how's my tea? Let me think. It's kind of a shame. I don't know. The way I feel, I tried to say I'm not going to do any more review copies for a while unless they really, really excite me. And then somebody reached out. And so that's one of the two that I got. The other one, I don't know what the story is there. Like, I know who it's from now at least, but I think it was sent without kind of giving me too much warning. I think there was kind of maybe a conversation along the lines of, yeah, if we get other stuff, would you like to do that? And I probably said, yeah, probably, or something like that. I didn't realize they would just send me things. I don't have any reference to this game, and I have no memory of it. But it does look okay, and neither of the two games is very long. They're not going to be what I do next, though. I've already promised myself I'm putting up a game that I bought, way, way back in the earliest days of my videos. And it was one I wanted to play with my wife, but it looked too simple, and I didn't really want to deal with it. But I've read the rules already. It's just like 4 pages. And I'm like, it's kind of a flavor like this, except science fiction. And I want to do it. I want to do it. I want to see what happens in it. Especially with, they're remaking Voyage of the Pandora. And yes, I'm pre-ordered on that shit. No question. I'm like, ooh, a richer version of that? I'm in. Because it definitely does look like, the little magazine game with its little tiny paragraph book, there's no way that would hold water, but that was the first of the paragraph book games. And, after Ambush and Tales of the Arabian Nights and stuff, it's clear that you can get away with huge, paragraph books for games. So I'm really hoping that, this is much, much more of a rich story. I love the original, but something that's more detailed or just has more interesting stuff happening. Just, wow, instant excitement, man. All right, onward. Here's kind of the problem in this game. I have almost no way of getting additional troops to Almagro. He's got four infantry units. He's got another conquistador, and that's all he's got. He can't, recover. Unless somebody throws a conquistador away, or, he could maybe pick up extra infantry now and then from cards. He could pick up stuff from defections or something. But his expedition is limited to that size. And he's just never going to be able to impact the game the way, somebody with this size expedition left would be able to. This recovers, the Indians do not. What does that mean? I don't know. I think it means I can't catch up, I'm behind, whatever. I could get very, very lucky, but also I'm in the midst of other people and within their reach, and that's not good either. Because of those situations, Almagro is retreating. There's still an imperial area back here. I'm actually in one right now. If this guy wants to deal with this area, that's fine. I'll run away, and he can come chase me. But that just means we're both going to be expending our effort to not be getting treasures while somebody else is ahead of us. And that's the kind of words that I'm going to use. Of course, there might be revenge attitudes in mind and whatnot. I don't really know. I feel like he's the one who's been wronged, so it's probably okay. Then over here, Pizarro did a number of things. First, he cashed in $6 for a governor bonused himself, brought in a new conquistador that I didn't put on the map. That's Sandoval. Should be the last of the brownies. Yep, they all look the same, don't they? I don't even have location to differentiate them. Who came in with a small force. I added a little bit of debt I think $3 of debt or something. Maybe not. Maybe only 2. I don't know. To get what I consider sort of a minimal force. I like having the cannon with me for the +1 in combat by having all 3 arms types. Oddly enough, the cannon doesn't slow you down at all, which is like, well, I mean, they're really tiny cannons, but you know, when you're hunting through the rainforest or whatever, I'm guessing that those suckers probably aren't as easy to operate with. Then again, probably neither are the horses. And I did a diplomacy here, got a bad translation thrown on me, ended up getting nothing out of it. Right, for the rest of them, wow, I gotta swap batteries again. I guess it's time to stop after this impulse, no matter what. Let's see, blue ended up doing a diplomacy. I didn't need, I had a card, doctor or whatever, to get rid of a morale hit. The diplomacy, I had a bonus card for it, so I went for it. I got nothing out of it. Within range of the Allied city, and I have food, so everything's, you know, I'm just in peachy shape over there. Plus, I'm winning the game. Next one was white. Did a rally, cleaned up my issue. I have no food, though, and I have nowhere where I can get it. And then over to Balboa. I did a diplomacy there as well. Ended up getting my own allied city. That's cool. Some additional food. Gotta remember not to spend food when I'm next to an allied city. I may have done that. That's the only guy who did it, who might have. He's the only one who had an allied city before. And I got a gold roll, got a little bit of gold. I got a bonus on that from this, as well as from the diplomacy table. And that means end of impulse check, more likely than not, but not. So we shall go on, but I need to charge my batteries. Almagro ran away back to here. Basically, that hostile city prevents, as long as that's there, I'm safe in between things. But I figure get as far away as possible for whatever reason. Just putting distance, apparent distance, should help me. Since I'm not in the lead, I really don't expect Alvarado to keep chasing me. He's got his own problems. And he's taken my territory. But for whatever that's worth, although there's a lot of cities here, they're defended or tapped out. This one's not. This is an imperial city. I could have pillaged this. Might have been worth it, but if I did so, I'd be within striking distance of this next turn if the initiative goes badly. So, or I'm within striking distance this turn if Navarez wants to attack me, but he's not a great choice. And Pizarro did some diplomacy, got a couple of gold, and some additional food, but that's it. He didn't get the king. Getting the king would be a big deal. It would add an additional 1 if I keep rolling gold. But if I'm in a position where I'm allowed to pillage or plunder, it's a big difference. Using diplomacy is not a great way to get cash quickly. It may not be sufficient when people are plundering cities. The rate of gold gain on the plunders is just so high. I forgot. Blue player, it's Cordoba, but that doesn't really matter. It's going to play this. City has a new chief to take his chief away. This gets rid of the allied city. And that just becomes a normal city. It's not imperial. You can't have an imperial city ally with you. If he had any troops, they would defect, just because he lost an allied city. And it kind of doesn't matter. You could have multiple allied cities. If one of them goes, you lose all your troops. They don't have to have come from there. And what am I going to be doing? This is just a normal city. I don't want to face the king this turn, so I'll probably do a diplomacy there, although I have plenty of food. Weird position here. Cordoba, we did his thing, but he got we did the diplomacy. He got a success and got another allied city here. So that actually extends so that I'll have food in there if I go into there. That's kind of a bonus. And I get troops. I forgot about troops. Is there a limit to how many I can have? I don't know. Couldn't find one. There, there's that 10-point limit that a card indicates. That, again, I couldn't find in the rules before, and I haven't looked now. But he should get those additional troops as well. Speaking of, because an allied city could go and you'd lose all his troops anyway. So, but in addition to that, I come to a problem for Alvarado. He's wounded. He can't be activated. I could leave some troops behind with him and move Nevaez, but that doesn't really help me. The turn's likely to end here, very likely, 2 through 9. It could just keep going forever, conceivably. I mean, it won't, but... and that means that I kind of have nothing I can do. I could do diplomacy on this. The problem, well, actually I don't think there is a problem with that because it wouldn't be turning hostile, so I might as well. Because there's nothing else I can do. I have a 0 diplomacy, it's hostile, so it's at -3. But I could roll really well and turn it neutral or something. I get a 4, that would turn it hostile, but now I wouldn't have even chanced that if it brought troops in, right? Which was my initial thought. But basically, yeah, he had nothing he could do on his turn because of Alvarado being injured. And then to our final, which is Balboa here, who just, his city just went neutral on him. Well, I allied that city, and I don't think I took troops from it, but they'd be gone now anyway. I think I'll go for it again. Because again, there's just not much I can do right now. So I'm at plus, this guy picked up an interpreter. He took an asset instead of a gold roll. Because the gold rolls don't generate much through diplomacy. So I'm at +2, +3 for the interpreter, and that's all she wrote, I think. 10. I get a food and a gold or an asset. I'll take the gold roll. This is my second one, which means I get a penalty on it. So I'm at -1. I think that's all I'm at. I get a 1. That gets me a whole buck. Ooh. And that's pretty much the end of the players. 2 through 9, the turn ends, and I load this up. And indeed, that's what happens. Okay, we got a couple things left. Subsistence. Look over here. He's fed from his city. Almagro is not, so he eats a food. This guy has a morale check. I'm really fatigued. I've been fucking around all day. Do I have anything against me here? I don't believe so. I roll a 2. That gets me a morale hit. Could be a lot worse. Well, it could have been troops, which would be starvation. Balboa no longer in a good place. All those guys are clustered up there, so no issue there. Pizarro, not friendly. So he loses the food, and we get rid of a whole bunch of counters for gold rolls and a plunder counter here. I think that's it. And yeah, very clearly very tired. Plunder counter. Where do the gold counters go? Where the fuck are the rolled golds? Oh, there they are. All right, just couldn't see them. We do a victory point check right now, but the highest number of victory points is 90. Cities are, maybe 6. Maybe 8, somewhere in that range. And the governor index is like 10. So I've got a lot to go before I get to the end. This is sort of, in a lot of cases, I was going to say this is sort of the tedious part of the game, but I got to tell you, the rest of the game just didn't instill all that much excitement either. So it's like, I don't know, rolling out to see what the results end up being. I just don't know how much more exciting that is than, I don't know how much more exciting it is to be moving around and doing all these kind of mechanical search things. Now, you could say the same thing about Source of the Nile. Source of the Nile can get very, very dull, especially when you're not playing with other people, like if you're playing it solo. Here, I've got this sort of challenge of people interacting with each other. But, one of the things with Source of the Nile is there's a certain excitement to, hey, what did I find in terms of terrain? And if I'm following a river, where is it going? Am I stuck in a swamp? There's just all this more detail to that game. Here, there's so little. It's like, did I find maybe mosquitoes in certain areas? Or, what kind of settlement did I find? There's so little to the exploration side of it, which I understand the focus is on the conquest, but there's not that much to the conquest side of it either. Like, I don't know, the game I was envisioning, which of course I can't produce, I can't design a game with shit. I end up, not understanding the limits, and also just like with everything in my life, giving up partway through, I just can't concentrate enough on, just making sure, trying to make it better, trying to make it playable enough, to be worthwhile. I just can't do that. But yeah, I mean, the idea that I had was more of a discovery type game, so you don't know what the terrain is, etc., as you find it. Now I was going with tiles as my concept, and then it would likely be inhabited, but not everywhere. Habitation was spread out a little bit more, but I don't mind the towns and villages are so much smaller that they may represent something that I didn't really want to cover too much. And then, just more detail in terms of how you interact, sort of choices. Sort of like you do in Source of the Nile. You have choices, but in Source of the Nile, there's one you always pick, which is like a great display of technology, unless you have no goods, in which case you go in as a beggar. It's like one or the other is your default pick, and none of the other options are as effective. I wanted something that was a little bit richer in terms of telling that sort of story, because really, I mean, I was focusing just on Cortez's conquests. Really, they were so decided by, at least in my understanding of it, by the diplomatic connections that he was able to make, and by breaking, the alliances that the Aztecs had, and using these forces that were at least nominally allied with the Aztecs against them. But yeah, here I just don't feel like there's much here. You know, it's just too simple. It's too simple a game to have. Like, there's just I'm having trouble finding anything that is really, really appealing about it, other than maybe the colors on the map. I know some people really like that. I got mixed views on it. The bubble map never really appeals to me, but yeah. All right, up it goes, and I guess we continue on, although, you know, I could say, hey, it was only to 100, man. Blue wins. You know, because the rest of it really is going to be tedious. Of course, Pizarro's whole expedition probably was a mistake anyway, going so far down, but it is, you know, all the more so the shorter the game is. He should have just challenged in there. But a lot of it comes down to, you know, just sort of random luck in terms of, hey, where did you go? What did you find? Which is fine if there's enough story behind that random luck. But I don't feel like there's, you know, somebody was suggesting, well, maybe you should play the solo variant of it. Yeah. That would get rid of the opposed play of the cards problem that really disturbs me about the voodoo side. And yes, I ranted on that tremendously. But, you know, I don't mind that side of things in a game like Geronimo, where I feel like there's enough going on. Here, it just, I don't know, it's just not, there's not enough to push me to say, oh, there's a good enough flavor to this whole thing that makes it, you know, makes me able to ignore some of the problems, is basically. Because every game has problems, right? And the question is, does the payoff exceed the problems? And here, I mean, it's not a hard game to play. It's not that annoying or anything. It's just, I'm not feeling like I'm getting that, you know, that juice coming out when I bite into it. All right, let's send this out. Because the word that I would use because of that, and thinking that kind of food analogy, if you bite into a fruit, you expect this reward for the mess or whatever of biting into the fruit. And it's not the juice, it's the flavor. And this is sort of flavorless. You know, it's just like there's no, I don't know, there's no great pleasure that comes from any of the instances of it, except, and this is the thing that I can't really tell you about, that take that sort of variety, where we see, you know, these two players feeling like they've got a vendetta against each other. Yeah, neither one's in the competition for winning. Well, I mean, it's hard to tell. Green was up there, but white is really so far behind now. Green is okay, except their board presence is so weak that I just feel like I could call this whole damn thing. You know, neither of these players have put any victory points on the board. I'm making sure that they didn't put them here. They don't have any there. Well, wait, yellow has some significant. Balboa has picked up a significant amount. So he's actually still vaguely in the running. He's 10, 20, 30, 40 points behind. But all the remaining, you know, all the legends and stuff are over on this side of the board. And he could just get luckier. So I guess it's still an ongoing game. Anyway, I just can't seem to stop talking, can I?